What's going on, guys? This is Ben from NolanTCG, and welcome back to episode 3 of the Road to Master Rule 5. So this week we're a little bit different in that our deck can be played at the moment, or it can be played in Master Rule 5. So if you do want to have a look at PaleoFrogs and prepare them for Master Rule 5, this is a great way to start. So essentially the big difference in MR5 is that you don't need the link monsters, but we'll get into the reason why they will still be valuable getting into Master Rule 5 as we get through the profile. But of course, you can just spam Totally Awesome if you want to in MR5. But as always, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. We'll be doing more Road to Master Rule 5 content in the future. Sealed Only has just gone up as well, and we'll be doing that for the couple of months, as well as our regular tournament footage. But let's get into the profile. Okay, so starting us off, pretty standard frog package, in that we are playing 3 Swap Frog, Rip the only one ulti, 3 copies of Dupe Frog, and 2 copies of Ronin Totem. Just your standard frog package. It's always been the standard frog package. It's all you need to play. Then following that up, the other 3 monsters, just an Ash Blossoms. You can change these up to whatever you'd like them to be. Same with like parts of the trap lineup. They're all just up to personal preference. Whatever you'd like to play or feel comfortable playing is what you should play. But then we're only playing 3 spells, and that we are playing 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance, just because we have the space in the extra deck going into MR5 and we're going to play around with that. If you are looking to be a little bit more budget, of course, by the time we do move into Master Rule 5, we could have seen a reprint for Extravagance, as we are getting close to a reprint date, but you could mess around with your ratios and play stuff like Pot of Desires, or possibly even consider playing Duality if you want to play more of a slow-paced and set-up kind of build. Okay, so next up we're going to get into our trap lineup. So we're going to start with the Paleos, and then we'll move into the more techie traps that can be switched around. But for the Paleos, starting us off, we have 3 copies of Olenoids. It's just the main spell and trap structure to the deck. I wish we had a super of this. It'd be really, really nice. But following that up, 3 copies of Canadia, 3 copies of Dynamiscus, 2 copies of Morella, and the 1 Lean Cholia. So you can like mix this up a little bit if you want to and slim it down. We're playing more of a spammy combo variant now that we have more Totally Awesomes to play with. Okay, so next up we have more of our techie trap lineup, in which we are playing 2 copies of Crackdown, 2 copies of Compulse, 3 copies of Impermanence, 3 copies of Judgment, 3 copies of Strike, and then finishing us up, the 1 Imperial Order. Okay, so finishing us up, we have our extra deck, in which we have the big feature boy of 3 copies of Totally Awesome. Best card in the deck, being able to now just throw them everywhere all over the board in MR5 and not have to worry about making the links makes it a lot better. We can finally go back to just ending on lots of toads and just absolute shenanigans. But now for the rest of the extra deck, we have 2 copies of Opabinia, 1 copy of Anomalocaris. Then we are playing just some one of rank 2s, just because we want to have some like options. Playing the Extrav doesn't really matter if any of these get banished. The Toad is your main way to go, but we are playing a couple of different ways that we can OTK. First of which is the Daigusto Phoenix. Then following that up, we've just got the Cursed Javelin, Skycav, and Crumble Logos. Then we are still playing the Link Engine, just because the Paleozoics, if you want to get into big links, don't count as effect monsters. So if you want to make things like Boral Sword to kill your opponent, they don't quite work without the Mastar Boys. So we are playing 2 copies of Mastar Boy, just in case one gets banished off Extrav. I felt like playing 2 is comfortable. You could possibly consider playing 3, but then you'd get a bit tight in the extra deck. Then we're playing some rank 4s, just because we want to be able to use the Mastar Boys with the Paleozoics to get into them. But we are playing Avramax, Boral Sword, and Bomber Dragon. Just because you can make the Bomber Dragon if you can absolutely combo off but can't quite kill your opponent. You just make the Bomber Dragon on your opponent's turn, you can summon underneath it, and then just kill your opponent. Okay, and that'll finish us up for the deck profile today. So remember, as always, comment down below if you do have any upgrades or recommendations that you could have for changing this deck for everyone. We will be probably doing updates to these as we get closer to MR5, just because we want to refine these lists a little bit more. Again, if you are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This has been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.